ভয়ের আরো একটি লাভ with Walker. Hello everyone, welcome to Horror Fiction live podcast and also welcome to the paranormal world. Today our live horror podcast is collaborated with The Things Network and I'm your host Walker Mahmood, a paranormal researcher and expert. With me my co-host William Ayat and Maria is here and today this is very special that today in our broadcast we have one special guest and that is Nick Molay from United States, Chicago, Illinois. And he's not only our guest, but also he's a paranormal expert, researcher, and investigator. And soon he will join us due to some work. He's kind of busy right now, so right now I'm just directly moving on to my co-host, today's co-host, Marlin. So, hello, Marlin.
Hello, everyone. This is Maria, and it's been an honor for me to be here with none other than our host. And obviously, the kind of show this is, I know all of you can actually sometimes resonate with the paranormal things, even if you do not believe that there is something out there. Then again, you kind of want to feel like that. I want to believe that. I want to feel the fear. So I guess this is the show where you can actually experience the fear and also share your fears as well.
Yes, and definitely. And we have a lot of good stories today. And personally, I would love to share some stories. And I have stories, especially for my audience from United States. And, you know, and around the world, I have collected many stories as I can. So today I'm just willing to share black magic stories and a couple of my incidents, personal experience of mine. I have witnesses in my in 25 years life as a paranormal researcher and expert. So I just can't wait to share those stories. And already we have a couple of viewers, as you guys can see. So directly right now I'm just moving on to a story. And Marlin, how about you just share a story and open the ceremony like the Horror Fiction Live podcast? So how about you just go for a story right now?
That sounds pretty good, to be honest.
Yeah, obviously.
Well, sharing a story, sometimes it takes courage, and sharing a story when it's about yourself, I would say it takes more courage to do so, because you have experienced something, and if you're sharing it with other people, the things that you have experienced might just come for you. So I would say I'm a bit scared, but I would like to talk about the experience that I had myself. It's my story. It's not like
it's your story. That sounds great. That sounds great. Okay.
Yes, exactly. So I'll just start with the story. But before that, I'd like all of you to know something about me. It is important because I am a person who loves reading. And whenever I'm reading something...
sorry to interrupt you, Maria. Can you just take your mic a little bit closer to your mouth that we can hear your voice clearly? Yeah, sure, go on.
Yeah, is it okay now?
Yeah, it's okay. It sounds perfect right now.
Okay, very good. So as I was saying that I am a reader and I love reading books. Not only books, I love reading like anything and everything, I would say, because it doesn't have to be a story. It can be a like documentary type of things or even research papers. But I was about 14 years old and it was back in 2014. So what happened is I usually slept late at night. I was battling some of the mental situations, and I would be most of the times, to stay awake and read as much as I can. And one day, I wasn't feeling very good. Like the whole day was something very gloomy one, to be honest. I didn't know why it happened, and still, mental illness and stuff are pretty weird to understand. And when it was about 11 p.m., I felt really weird. Weird in the sense that I was in my room all alone. I have two elder sisters who were not with me back then, and my parents were actually not home that night. And it was 11 p.m. and I was like, I feel like there is something. I'm not feeling okay. I'm not feeling alone. And that's not normal. I'm supposed to be alone in this house at the moment. So I was like, okay, it probably is because I have been feeling really down all day and I'm just probably imagining things. So what I did is I started reading horror. Horror stories. Because I was feeling like, okay, if I'm feeling a bit of scared, I should just get over it by reading something more scary. So the story I was reading, the story was about shadow people. I know
Shadow people. Oh, that sounds great, you know.
Yes, exactly. I know a lot of you.
And I'm already having goosebumps.
Well, I am too as I'm telling this.
Go on.
Yeah, so I was like, the story basically was something like this, that there was a couple who had to move to a different city, and their new house, it was in the second floor of the building, and their bedroom, it was already furnished and all that. Usually that is not seen in at least our country, but their room was perfectly furnished, and the bed was right in front of the window, and the window was open. Like there was no grills, there was no like sliding or anything like that. Like we have seen in our countries, like there are windows that can be just wide open. You can just jump out from there, or you can just go in. It was that kind of a window, but the outside was totally sort of like a lake. There was no way for someone to walk there. So the couple, they had a kid, and the kid was about 4 years old. And in our country, I know Walker can actually vouch for me that even a 4-year-old kid, even sometimes a 6-year-old kid, usually stay with the parents.
Yeah, obviously. In our country, it's kind of usual. Live with their parents in the same bed, share same bed.
Yes, exactly. So the kid was in the middle of them, and the wife was apparently pregnant. About 7 months. Like in that story. So she, after moving to that house, she experienced a lot of things. She was feeling like someone was watching her, even in the day. And her husband was out to work, and the kid was out to the kindergarten school. But whenever the kid was here, she would feel like there is not only the kid, there is multiple kids. Someone was running on the floor, and someone would be on top of that. And whenever she was going to sleep, she would feel like someone would be looking at her from the other side of the window. And the feeling, it would be more stressful for her in that situation, because obviously a pregnant woman goes through a lot of hormonal situations. All of you can actually understand this basic facts, but she was the frustration that she felt, the kind of bad situation, the weird situation that she was going through was not normal, hormonal kind of thing. At night, she was sleeping. The kid was beside her and her husband. She woke up thirsty, and she went to the kitchen to grab water. And when she, switched on the light of the kitchen, poured the water into the glass, she was about to drink it, the light, out of nowhere, just like bam, it just broke into pieces, and the light was gone. It was a loud noise, and it was sparking. And she was like, okay, probably it was because of the electricity. Is like sometimes does.
There was a static going on, like, right?
Yeah.
Static's going on.
But she first thought that it could be just the electricity, but she felt like there was someone behind her, and she just, out of nowhere, just looked back. Nothing. As usual in the stories or the situations we face, there's nothing there actually, but we're feeling it. She was there. She was scared, and she went to her husband, and she woke him up, and she said, yeah, I just felt like the that light going off like that, it broke like that, the loud noise and all. It's not normal. Her husband was like, oh, well, you should just sleep. It's fine. It's just probably some electricity situation. Probably it got too hot, and that's why the glass broke or something. Her husband didn't give her any kind of attention to this matter. So what happened after that is that she'd be constantly feeling the presence after that night. She'd be totally horrified all night, and she couldn't talk about it with anyone, and she'd start behaving really weird even with her husband. She'd not be cooking foods like normal, usual. She'd just be like leaving a piece of bread for the morning or even in the night. The husband was pretty disturbed with her behavior, and one night they had a very bad fight. But still, as there was, I probably forgot to mention that there was only one bedroom apparently with that situation, and they went to bed again. The window was always usually open, and it was a very hot summer night. There was moon outside, and the outside of the window looked very weird because it was like, there's a lake. There's weird noises coming out there, like we talk about some, fireflies with like stuff like that. So she was trying to sleep, and she felt a bit sleepy. Her eyes were shutting down, and as usual, she started feeling like there was something looking at her from above. She didn't open her eyes at first, but out of nowhere, the feeling, it got like, more weirder, and it felt like there is someone breathing on her face. She just opened her eyes abruptly, and she saw a figure, a face, a skin. There was just the skeleton, and the skin was white.
Oh no!
And
the skin was white.
Yes, and she tried to scream, but she felt a hand on top of her mouth, and the hand was a baby's hand. There was a same.
That sounds creepy.
Exactly, the same kind of thing was right behind her and beside her, and it was grabbing her mouth, and it was sort of like making weird baby noises.
Oh,
she was terrified, and she looked
weird.
at her, her tummy, where her kid was supposed to be. There was another baby on top of her tummy. It was crawling position, and it was sort of smiling at her. No face. There was just no eyes, there is no nose and nothing like that. And
oh my god, that sounds creepy.
A smiling face of a baby who looked like a skeleton, but there was white skin, like dead skin on its body. She then felt like it was ripping her stomach apart, and she tried to ask help from her husband and her kid as well, in the middle of them. When she looked at her side, she saw that the kid was gone. the kid
Oh
was
no.
gone in sense that it was a bloody mud beside her. That's it, a bloody body of her kid. There's nothing else. And her husband was standing actually, and his face, his skin, it kind of looked like someone was scratching it and it was falling apart. Someone was like, grabbing the skin and then taking it out of the body of her husband. He was just standing there, bloody and all.
You
And
mean
that's
that
how
kids or that her husband?
Yes, both of them were actually dead beside her, and she was the last one to be alive, and she was seeing her belly being like ripped open, and the fetus was, they was just pulling it up. So that's how the story I was reading ended, and
I was creepy.
Yes, and I was horrified, even though I knew that probably it's just a story. And I went to sleep. Mind you that I was alone at that night, and I woke up at 3 p.m. I went to sleep around like 1:30 after reading that story, that shadow people or stuff like that. And I went to the washroom, and I'll have to say that the washroom was like in a, sometimes there is a balcony, and there is the washroom like with the balcony. You open the balcony door, and then there's the washroom as well in the balcony's side. It was like that, and we were in the second story of our building as well, and the balcony was facing a lake, and the lake was obviously like it was not immediately by the lake. There was a road, and then the lake, and there was a mango tree, and I don't know, like you know what right? That there is a like mango trees has a lot of like the leaves are very sometimes at night it looks kind of creepy, the mango leaves.
And not only that, those bushes make unusual noises, and that really that really annoying and makes us afraid. Whenever I just used to walk middle of a village, like village road, suddenly those kind of noise just really frightening. Yes, I know exactly. That.
And the noise was actually there as well. And I just went to the washroom because I wasn't feeling good again. And I looked at the mirror. I was just washing my face. I looked at the mirror. And I swear that I saw something behind me. And I don't yet know what it was. It just felt like there was a shadow which wasn't mine. So I would be doing something that is I would just go closer to the mirror, and I had this belief, like if I look into the people of my eyes, I'll see something behind me. That was something I believed as a child. Like there is not only me inside my pupil when I'm looking at the mirror, I'm seeing something else beside as well. And I was like, okay, probably I saw something like that. Let me check. I'm brave enough. I went closer to the mirror, and the washroom light was on top of the mirror. When I went closer to the mirror, the light, it broke into pieces. Just like the story I read earlier. And
something. Yeah, go on.
And I still now, I don't know if it was electricity. Like sometimes, lights get the light sometimes get too hot, and sometimes it breaks. I know it happens sometimes, even when there is like the current is going up and down. Sometimes the situations like that. I was thinking, is it because of this? And then I just stood there. I couldn't move because I was like the story that I read earlier, it was on my mind, and I was just trying to relate to the situation. She was in the kitchen, I'm in the washroom, I'm looking at the mirror, and suddenly the light breaks. Why? Like why? And I managed to get out of the washroom into the veranda, like the balcony, and the door to the balcony would not open. I didn't close it. It didn't open. And I was just there. I couldn't even scream because I know my parents are not at home. The main door is also closed. And I did not close the balcony door as well. and it was summer night as well. And I was like, okay, probably now that I've read that story, the things are gonna be coming behind me, and I'm drip my skin and all. And I started reading Ayatul Kursi. That is something we Muslims do whenever we are in a scary situation. And as much as I could, I just prayed to the Almighty, and I kept my eyes closed. And the door, apparently, after some time, I just kept on knocking, try to open it, and it just opened at some time. And I went inside. I just totally went mad. I just went to all of the rooms of my house, and I switched on all the lights, and I started listening to a lot of music loudly, because I didn't want it to feel alone at that moment. And the night passed. I survived, I think, and I'm still here. So yeah, that was my story.
It's kind of terrifying. Things all started very nicely. Things just started. You were reading a story, and this thing ended up very bad. Several few incidents you have faced in that moment, like those paranormal incidents. Things just started nicely and ended up like this, and that is very terrifying. And sometimes shits happen every time. Whenever middle of the devil hour, usually after 1 or 2 at midnight. We usually don't used to watch Mirror. Mirror works like a portal. If I tell you guys about Mirror, then Mirror is a portal of a demon, or whatever you just used to call. It's a bridge. It's the connection. It's the connection between a parallel dimension and into the real world. Demons and whatever the bad spirits, whatever you guys call jinns, demons, whatever ghosts, they usually use this type of portal to engage in our planet, in our realm. It's kind of work like a portal. So usually we don't watch Mirror at late night. Whenever we just go to washroom, and we usually just cover the mirror. It's a kind of tradition in our country. My mom used to say, just don't look at Mirror at night. Whenever it's midnight, just don't look at it, because it's a portal. It worked as demon's portal. And obviously it is, because we already know about the Bloody Mary, and there's a couple of good rituals. The big medium is the mirror. So mirror is a portal. So just don't look at it. If you were just wake up, in the middle of the night, and just thinking to have a pee or something like that, then whatever you do, just cover up your mirror and then just don't look at it. Because sometimes you can hallucinate, and if you hallucinate, that can also be hazardous for you. So right now, just I'm directly moving on to the comment section. So Tanbir Rahman say big fan, Ayat boss. Okay, so Ayat, so you got applause here. And Shubha Ahmed, your regular fan. Yeah, I'm also here for Ayat's voice. And Tanbir Rahman, it's a very good story. Yeah, I really think that. Yeah, so it was a very good story. It all started up with a story, just a story. Maria was, reading a usual story, and things just ended up very badly. And she just had several, paranormal incidents. And Vanita's Jenny, Maria's voice is so cute, and he just applauded. Okay, thank you so much. Nick Molay, yo, hey guys, on my way back. Yeah, obviously we're waiting for you. Just can't wait to have you, bro. Shubha Ahmed, this is a beautiful story. Thank you so much, Shubha. Nick Molay will be on a minute. Yeah, we are just eagerly waiting for you. As I told a couple of times, Nick is working, and he will be right back in a couple of minutes later. And Shubha Ahmed once again. But why Ayat is silent? Why she is not sharing any story? Yeah, we will jump onto her very quickly. But before that, I would like to feel few things. And I'm very glad, I'm very glad to the Things Network, because they took us, they just give a chance to be there in the community. And it's a very honor for us to be there in the community. And not only that, it's a big chance for us to share our stories and working with them. And it's a collaborated show with Things Network. It's horror fiction. So thank you so much for having us, for our network, and for having our community. Thank you so much, everyone who belongs to the US Fan Zone and the Things Network community. Okay, so right now I'm just directly moving on to William Ayat, and I would like to hear a story from your voice. So I'll just give a little introduction of you and move on to your story.
Mm-hmm. Hello,
Mhm.
I'm
Yeah.
Volume Ayat, and today I'm the storyteller of
Yeah, you got a lot
Horror
of.
Fiction.
Sorry to interrupt. You got a huge fan base here, and people just can't wait to have you and have your story. So go on,
Yeah,
People's Ayat.
People's
Yeah, yeah,
Ayat.
the People's Champ. Yeah, you are the People's Champ, Rock Dawson. Go on.
Okay, so should
Mm-hmm.
I actually share a story from Bangladesh or some other countries? Because I have
I
one.
had one thing like as a couple of your fans are waiting here, so I would like you to share the story half English, half Bangla. Just try to make a balance right now. Go for it.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
I think they can understand if I
Mm-hmm.
know you mean Banglish. Okay, so the
Yeah, just
story is
try to make things easier for them.
So the
Mm-hmm. Go
story
on.
is from an hostel, but
Okay.
I won't say the name. So there's a girl newly shifted there. So she was like new to the college and newly shifted there,
Mm-hmm.
and every situation was hard for her to, and she had to leave her family and she had to stay with those didn't even know. So she left her village and she is staying in the city. So it's kind of really hard for her. So her roommates were nice. She had 4 roommates,
Mm-hmm.
and the situation in the hostel there are in Bangladesh. There are a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
She just said that when the moment she get in the room, she had a very weird feeling. Like the air, it was heavy. And since her parents, her dad and her mom was like, they used to stay in village and they have faced many things like that. They had to face like that in village. There are many stories, many things. So she knew that something is wrong, but in the moment she looked at her two of her roommates, she saw that okay, there is something wrong with them. They were just by looking at them, she knew that there is something wrong with them. But though she was like, okay, I understand there's something wrong with them, but she won't say a single word. Because she always, as long as you try to avoid it and you ignore it, you are mostly like safe. So she
Mm-hmm.
said that after like taking her luggage and completing কি বলে গুছিয়ে নেওয়ার পরে in her place in the luggage and everything, she go to the washroom. And when she looked at the mirror and after just washing her face, she just looked at the mirror, the one thing she saw, the leg, 2 legs,
Mm-hmm.
burned legs. Okay, and just পা কোনো হাঁটু থেকে হাঁটুর উপরে কিছু ছিল না,
Oh
just
my
পা
God.
দুটো ছিল, and it
That's
was
terrifying.
fully burned. And she হচ্ছে যে after she saw that, she just looked at the mirror for a moment and just washed her face and looked down and come back to her room. So when there was nothing wrong in the room that moment, but she was having a feeling that something was wrong in the washroom right at that moment. But the moment she get into the room, that time there was the heavy air. The air was different in that room, but now in the washroom, that place is really different. So there was 4 of her roommates. The 3 of them weren't there. They have gone outside. So she just seated there for a moment and just look at her another roommate and go close to her and said whatever she saw or get through in that washroom. So she said, she just looked at her and she said, are you sure what you saw? I mean, that's what you saw? I said, yeah, that's what I saw. So she was just covering her legs with a blanket. Okay, so it's almost like a winter season, so it's just covering. So she just pulled the cover off, the blanket off, and say, does those legs look like this? And when she saw, it was the same. The
Oh,
burned story.
oh no.
She was for a moment, and after that she just looked at her, and she saw that that roommate was almost like her whole body is burned, her face has burned, and there is that hair and everything. She was completely burned, just wearing that dress and giving a smile. You haven't seen the full face and you haven't seen the full body. How does it feel? Now you have seen it. So she just kept praying, kept, chanting some. There's so many things they can chant, and then silently she just came back she got outside and another room. She got to another room, and when she get to one of her friends also joined,
Mhm.
but they didn't have the same room. So when she get there, she saw the roommate that was in the room she just saw a little while ago. She was there chatting with them, and for a moment she thought, okay, so there was something wrong with that room. That wasn't. She was a strong woman, you see, as she have faced many things. She wasn't scared of things like that. So she just looked at them and she said, okay, there was something wrong. There was someone in that room who wasn't her. So she just said that, okay, I have to keep chanting. I have to be careful. I have to talk to my father. But one thing, when she looked at her friend that was sitting there and chatting with them, she just looked back at her and given another creepy smile.
Oh
And
no.
everything was normal, but her face was burned and no one else could see it. So you see, she had 4 roommates and 2 of them were creepy. One of them she just saw, and another 2 had no idea what was going on, or what they would have to go through in the future. It was a really bad story, you can say. And that night, when she just came to her room and she was preparing for sleeping, the second roommate just looked at her and said that, okay, so Nick Mulhay is here.
Yeah, Nick, welcome back.
Yes, sorry I'm late, but I got here as quick as I could.
Yeah. No problem at all. It's okay, and it's good that you're back. And we were waiting for you. And thank you for joining us, Nick, once again. And glad to have you back in a collaboration show, Horror Fiction
thank you.
X Things Network.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, go on.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. So she saw the second girl. She just came to her and sat down beside in her bed, and she just looked at her and said, there are many things you're gonna see that happens in this room, and at the end of the day, you weren't invited in this place, but by mistake you just came. By mistake you just stepped into our world. Even though you will have no problem here, but you have to face many things, and don't try to stop us. You might die or lose your life with your family and loved ones. So don't try to put your finger or put your leg into this. So she was just, for a moment, she was just thinking, what is this? What just happened in this situation? So when she was sleeping at night, suddenly at like 2 a.m., I guess in the night, suddenly she just felt something different. And she just looked at her and she saw one of her roommate just get silently. The first roommate she saw that was, burned, that had burned face and burned body. So she just get out of her room silently and with a matches on her hand. So which was kind of unusual for her to, that why is she just going there with the matches in her hand? And she tried to follow her, but the door was locked. Door was like she just couldn't do anything. And then she just looked at the second roommate that has told her, warned her, and she was wide awake. She just told her, go sleep. Don't do this. Don't try to be a hero. Don't try to protect villains. Don't try to protect those who don't deserve it. So I think after that she just came back to her bed and she was waiting that what's gonna happen. But after some time she fell asleep somehow. But the next day when she wake up, the caretaker came and told me that some of the people came and told that there was a fire in another room in the hostel. And 3 of the girls stayed there. They died and they were burned. So she was, for a moment, she just looked at the first roommate that told her that this situation. She just looked at her, and that roommate looked at her bag and said nothing, and said, just go and check. You're curious after all. So she got there and she just left, and what just amazed them was those 3 bodies were burned, but their clothes weren't burned at all. It was perfectly fine. The clothes were perfectly fine, but the body was hella burned. And when she looked at the legs, it was versus ulto pao ke ki bole?
A twisted leg?
Yeah, the twisted
Something
leg.
like that.
Yeah, the twisted leg. Something that's true. So their leg was twisted. And it was the same type of burn she saw in the mirror. And the first roommate's leg, the same type of burn they had in their leg. So she was just confused that what is happening, why this is happening. And she tried to just not to get involved in this situation. She came back to her room. She just silently came back and just sat there, and after some time she just thought that, okay, I need to find out, or I need to talk to her. So she tried to find out more about these 2 girls. Okay, so you see these 2 roommates who don't talk to anybody, just if there were some people or some girls talking, they would just stand there or sit there. So there was nothing. They wouldn't talk, they wouldn't do anything. They would just sit there silently and just look at people, without doing anything. So she was really confused that what is happening, and they won't talk to their 2 roommates as well. So she just called her father. So her father was a huge, a lot of things. Almost, you can say, almost a psychic, you can say, almost.
He knows a lot.
Yeah, he knows a lot. He knows
a lot about this stuff.
She called him. So he was like, the situation isn't good there. Can you leave from there? Can you come back? She said, shouldn't I help them? Okay, so her family was like from the generations. They had helped people curing and many things, and things like that, paranormal activities. They have helped. So she was like, no, as my family lives for that, as my family's main work is that, you guys do it, why should I come back? I should try to help them. And her father said that you cannot, because those weren't just any easy. I cannot find anything about them, but I know there is something wrong. So try to find out about this. Try to find out without getting any serious issue. So she came back, and when she came back, one of the second, roommate, he just put her hand on her neck, pushed her to the wall, and she just was like, what just happened? And she saw it's not a normal human being, and it's not a I won't say the dead person or something like that, but it's almost like a witch. You can. And a witch means a witch. That is, in Bangladesh there are many type of witch, and I would say
Mhm.
some of the witches that stay in the gutter, or some the you know the bad smelly places like that, dustbin and something like that. So those type of witches from there. But what is the reason the witches were here and trying to kill the hostel girls? Isn't it? So it's a question. She had like, why would they be here and killing them, burning them without any reason? So she tried to find out the reason. So she tried to go and figured out many things. That there was a girl who used to stay before she came, like before she came. So that girl wasn't just a nerd. You can say nerdy type of girl, wasn't really that advanced type of girl. So that kind of girl, if you have this type of people, you have to be bullied by your seniors or your roommates around. But what they didn't know was that girl's power. She had a huge effective of black magics. She could use black magic, she could manipulate people, she could even make people wanting to die just by manipulating them. So they didn't know. She tried to be a good person. She tried to came and study in college, study and everything. She tried to change her life, but they didn't let her be happy. And not just that, then she just go back to her village. She just bring 2 of her witches and she let them stay in this hostel. And almost like they were staying there, and they were on those every single people, the warden and everything, every single one that behaved badly died somehow.
Oh, that's
So
great.
she said one of the the cooker who used to give her the bad food, I saw her dying. She was coming and I was just standing there, and I saw that first girl just looking at her creepily. So I knew something was wrong. Something's bad gonna be happen there. And when I just looked at her, another tugged frog just came and just mashed her and left. Just killed her on the spot. And she said her head was in a disaster situation. Her brain was coming out of it. Its skull was broken. It's kind of a really,
That's
really, really
disturbing.
great. Yeah, it's really
It
crazy
is.
situation. Even though doesn't matter how much strong she is, or it doesn't matter whatever she can handle, but she wasn't strong enough. So she tried to help. She really tried to help. She tried to help. She tried to take help from her father to get out of this situation. But as they said, don't try to fight or you might lose someone close. You might lose someone closer. Your closed ones, you might lose them. And the next day, her father came here to, told her that they will do something. They will try to help. They have talked to the main manager there, and they try to make them understand that there is something wrong. There is something wrong with these 2 ladies, but they were as advanced in this situation. They don't want to believe. Nobody wants to believe unless they have figured or they have gone through something. And it's a really sad, really a bad situation. She says the next day, her mother, after her mother was sick, really in a bad situation, and that one of the girls just came to her, the first girl came to her, are you sure your mother is okay? You're trying to help them, but are your family okay? Your mother, is she okay? He does cooking in the village side, you have to cook in the outside. Is that okay? She's alright? She knew something was wrong. She just tried to call her mother. She just tried to call her family, her brother, but nothing just reached there. So her father and she tried to just go back to village as fast as possible to protect her. But as they said, they will destroy. That means they will destroy. So then when she got there, the moment she just stepped in that house, her mother was in the kitchen cooking, and almost the kitchen was burnt. The fire. She was wearing a sari. So you see, when she just called her mother and
It's a
her
traditional
mother
dress.
just looked at her. Yeah, traditional dress.
Traditional dress of Bangladesh.
Mother just looked at her. Her sari just got in the fire and almost
Oh, jeez,
it
no.
burned. And so they tried to save her, but they already saved her. Sorry. So half of her body was burnt, especially her legs, and it was very badly burned. And the burn was same way those that she saw in the washroom. That girl's leg was burnt, same way, same burning. So she really wanted to save them, or she really wanted to protect them, but there was nothing she could do. And every single one that just, used bad words on that one girl, every one of them died. But they didn't die because of burning, but they did die somehow, like a little bit of difference of months, 2 days, 1 week, 6 months. In the same way, there has been, it says that 12
It was
girls
kind of
has
maintaining
died.
sequence, death
Yeah.
sequence.
Yeah, death sequence. And every single death was creepy. Every single death was creepy, Walker. When you
Jeez,
saw some
yeah.
of them, there's like accidents. One of them was just pushed from the 10th floor, and the moment she just fell down on the floor, and they got down there, her body was like almost
Smashed.
smashed, and her head was smashed too. And it's kind of the most creepiest thing she says. And the fact was, every single night just because she tried to mess or she tried to help them, she would see, even if she didn't go to that place, go back to that hostel, she would see the death. And somehow in her dream, or she will have a vision or something like that, but she will see how they have died. And that's how they have died the next day. 1 day ago, they would see how they died. So it's kind of the most creepiest thing. She said that after that, she never tried to explore or try anything that related to paranormal things. And when I tried to talk to her or any of the stories, she said, I have many stories, but this is one of the stories that after that I can never even dare to go back to that place. My mother's leg has been healed, but still whenever I looked at her leg, I could imagine, and that girl's leg, that witch's leg, still just came to my mind, or in front of my eyes. I could see that. And yet, if I try to do something, I know something will be wrong. And she never go back. She could never study back in the college. So it was like a dropout in the college. She had to, drop the college, and she had to stop her study that time. And now it's good. Now she's almost stable. She's going through another college, university. She's trying to study there. But she says still, sometimes some people just don't understand, that don't bully the weak people. When she told me this story, she just said at the end of the day, at the end of the conversation, people just don't understand. Sometimes you should not bully the good people or good looking people that looks like an angel. They could be the devil in the face of angel. they could be more harmful. She said that if I met a devil, I won't be scared, but if I met an angel, I'll be hella scared. But an angel, you're gonna trust an angel, she can destroy you, but you're never gonna trust a devil. So people just don't understand that who you should bully or you should not bully. Anytime those good people, if they turn into a bad one, they could do anything for revenge, something like that.
That's true. That's true.
So that's all for my story.
Thank you so much, William. So what else you can expect whenever Ayat is a storyteller? Something bad and something terrifying is coming. Yeah, I really appreciate your story, and that was, hell of a disgusting, and not only that, but also terrifying. So welcome back, Nick. Welcome back again to our show. Horror Fiction collaborated with Things Network. So welcome back, brother, once again. So I guess you had a very big day, undoubtedly.
Yeah, it was work. I mean, honestly, if I was able to get like some of the, the hours switched, I definitely would. But I just want to say thank you. I really want to thank you guys so much for pushing this time back for me. This really helped me out a lot. Seriously, I thank you guys.
Welcome, and we did that, and we really need to do that because you were our special guest here again, and Jeremy was supposed to come and he said he was busy on. Okay, it's fine. We will get him again in our next show, obviously, I guess. So right now, Nick, my co-host Maria would like to ask you a few things. So Maria, you can ask those whatever you love to ask to. You can go for it.
Hey, thank you for giving me the floor.
Welcome.
So, hello, Nick. Nice to meet you. This is Maria.
Nice to meet you. Yeah.
Okay.
Nice to meet you, Maria.
So, I heard that you are also a paranormal expert like our Walker here. And I know that you have a lot of experience with things like that. And to be honest, as far as I can see in YouTube or other social media platforms, USA and especially also UK, these places are really, notorious for being haunted. So in that sense, like, you have been studying this supernatural things for a very long time. What kind of evidence has been like the most convincing in supporting claims of paranormal activities in your experience?
Well, actually, it's funny you asked that question. If there was I might actually be able to show it to you guys, because this was not only one of the best, but it was actually my very first time that I've ever captured evidence of something paranormal. I mean, prior to this, the only type of evidence I've gotten were like EVPs, audio. But when you're trying to take a photograph or a video, it's very difficult to determine, to capture something, but also to determine if this is paranormal or not. And that's the case with this one video. We were at a location that was called actually Jeremy was there for this one too, although he wasn't there he wasn't in the same room as I was though. But we were at a location that was called the Crown Point Jail, which is located in Crown Point, Indiana. That's like in the northwestern part of the state, just an hour away from me. And we were actually trying to shoot for a paranormal series that unfortunately never went through. But what I captured though was phenomenal, because we had two investigators. They were doing a ghost box session, and while I was filming, see, when you look at paranormal evidence, usually it's after you filmed it and you reviewed it. But in this case, it happened while I was filming, and I could see it through the viewfinder.
Oh my god!
But as we're filming, all of a sudden there is, and trust me, I was trying to debunk it. I was trying to look for a logical explanation at first. I was looking around what this happened, but there was this huge black mass, this giant shadow that just came out from the ceiling, and it covered one of the investigators' faces. Now, I didn't actually see this with my own eyes. It was just through the little monitor of the camera. And while I'm looking at this, I'm like thinking to myself, "What the hell is this?" And I'm actually like turning my head a few times, thinking, Am I causing a shadow? Am I standing in front of a? We were standing in front of a few windows. It was nighttime. There were some light shining through. I thought maybe me and my other friend, who was also a cameraman, could have caused the shadow. And no matter which direction we went, that shadow was still over this investigator's face, and it sat there for probably about a minute or two until it eventually went back up to the ceiling. But that wasn't it. At first, I'm like terribly confused, what I just saw. And while I'm still kind of leaning on that thought, that shadow comes back again, literally lands on the same area where it first appeared. But this time it was only there for just like 20 seconds, and then it went back up to the ceiling once again, and it was gone. And I know some people are wondering, saying, well, did I ever move the camera up, just to make sure if it wasn't something from the ceiling? I wasn't thinking about it, but very briefly I do move the camera up, and as you see on the top of the ceiling, there's nothing there that could have created the shadow. It was like probably one of the best like recent pieces of evidence that I've ever captured. I mean, to this day, I have tried to debunk it. I've tried. People try to be. I've had a lot of skeptics who come up and try to ask me, say, what do you think it could be? Nobody has been able to figure it out. So I have no idea what I captured.
That is actually called paranormal.
And that's absolutely terrifying.
I'm actually
because as far as I know, that like seeing things in front of your eyes is one thing, and seeing things in camera or monitor is a different kind of feeling in a like real setting. It was a very, very scary situation, I'm sure. And you were very brave to go through this, I have to say.
It is. I mean, I was like shocked. I mean, I wasn't scared when this happened. I just couldn't believe what I was seeing. And if you guys don't mind, I actually have that footage right now if you guys want to check it out.
Oh, yeah, I would love to. Go for it. Yeah, I would love to.
All right, I'm gonna share the screen. It's about a 2-minute video, so bear with me for just 2 minutes on this. So you guys tell me what you think when you see this. Okay, here we go. So this was us at the
Okay.
Now I know there's a lot. It looks like it's bright, but that actually, we did have a little bit of a light coming from the night vision camera, but what shows up, there's no way we can explain this. So here it is. The other cameraman to the left.
Can't see anything though.
Look at that. You see the shadow? You got to look at the top of the screen. Here, I'll play it back. See that shadow that shows up at the top of the screen?
Yeah, it was actually, I think it would be better if we just like present the screen first, because we can actually see that, and your expression tells a lot of things, to be honest. Yeah. Please present the screen. Like there is a present option here.
Oh, I thought that's what, but it wasn't showing, or?
No, it wasn't showing, but your expressions were already scary. Wow.
Yeah, we can see anything. Like Nick.
We didn't, but we're excited to see it.
One second. I'm sorry about that, guys. I thought it was showing. Right now, you guys.
No, it's okay. It's okay.
See it this time once I click share. Let's try this. You guys see anything?
No, still there's your face. Still can't see anything.
Okay.
Oh, hello, Jeremy. Hello, all.
Hey, Jeremy. All right, let's give this. I'm going to try this idea. I have another idea. Now let's see if this will work.
We are waiting for it. You just can't wait to see that. Like,
I think.
And
I think. It's,
and
Oh, I'm sorry. I think it's showing up on the bottom of your screen, Walker. You may have to, if there's another one that says Nick on it, you may have to click that one.
Wait, let me figure it out. Wait, let me figure it out. Let's see. Is there any option or some kind of like that?
I think you have to like share the screen here in this live studio as well. So just make it live.
See, that's exactly what I was doing. I'm not sure why it's not cooperating with me. So
It's okay. It's okay, Nick, and we'll see it later. Just don't forget to share it in our, Things Network community. I'll share it to you all, and it's okay. It's not a big problem at all. So, okay, Mario, you can go for the question.
Okay, so that's my pleasure. Obviously, I was really excited, so I'm looking forward to seeing the video.
Yeah, me too.
So, yeah, and well, I don't know, like, actually how to ask how to do this. Like, sometimes, we have personal biases. Like, we believe in some things, but not really believe in it again. So in that case, how do you ensure the objectivity and prevent your personal biases from influencing your examination of all the paranormal things that you have been working on?
See, when it
like sometimes do you feel like it's not really real, but yeah, go on, please.
See, the way how I always do things. See, the way how I usually do things, like when it comes to like investigating, like when it comes to presenting evidence, or like determining on a certain experience that not only just myself but also for others who have what whether it's another investigator or if it's a client or somebody like that. One thing I always make sure to do it first, because I think it's very, very important for a lot of us in the paranormal field to do this, is definitely, of course, go in as a believer, but still kind of also have a little bit of a skeptical side, because there are certain times that when you're having an experience that it could be explained very quickly. Like, I mean, for example, if you're looking at, like, for example, a full body apparition, there's no way to give an explanation for that. I mean, that's you obviously saw a full ghostly apparition, but if it's like sounds or something, like if you hear like the creaking of wood or something falling or something, you want to say, well, it could be paranormal, but at the same time it could have just been the building's old, you may have just stepped on it might be just aging of the building. So when it comes to like presenting and stuff, we basically tell them the pros and cons, if you will. Say, okay, this is what we believe is like kind of the paranormal aspect, like of what we're experiencing. There are some other things that are going on, which they might be, but we're going to look into it a little bit more before we officially say it's paranormal, because it could be explained. So I think it's, certainly, I think it's important to have that kind of mentality, like when you're going out and investigating.
Yes. Yeah, of course. I mean, for me, I have also, like, I already shared one of my stories, like a real one that I have personally faced, and still now I'm not sure if it was, my mind playing games with me, or the house just was not in the situation, it was just like that, or was it actually paranormal? So I sometimes find it like really hard to get over the fact that it was something paranormal or something not. So I have one more question for you, to be honest, because I believe that you believe in science, right? Like science is fact, and I think we have to believe in science as well, because we have seen a lot of like things that have came up because of science that couldn't be explained before, but now it can be explained. Like, people thought that it was actually the moon or the sun that was roaming around the earth, but actually it's not really the case. So science has solved a lot of questions of our mind. So do you believe that science will eventually provide definite answers for like the paranormal things that we face?
I think it's kind of like really just yes for the most part. I definitely do believe in the science of it, and also like the certain aspects, like when it comes to certain types of phenomena that is said to occur. So, because again, there's not just like, of course, just one answer to it. There's literally lists of different answers as such. So I definitely do like I definitely do like not only believe it, but I also like not only believe it, but I also do like the science aspect of it, because it is just like research. You know, it's no different than doing research on anything else. It's just that in our case, it's the paranormal field, and you know, it's something that I think is very important to, you know, obviously be involved with.
Yeah, totally. I totally get that point as well, because like there are all special people who actually see or feel beyond scientific things that we see around the world. So the soul connections or the presence of something that's not human or something that's not really explainable, people feels that as well. So I personally believe that there would be things in the future that science can't really come up with any answers, because you guys are paranormal investigators, and there is a reason for you choosing this things to work with, because obviously you have seen proof of it. Otherwise, yeah. So thank you so much for your answers, and I was curious about all of this, and you answered so well. Thank you a lot. So I guess Walker, you can take over.
Oh, my absolute pleasure.
Thank you so much, Nick, for your answer, and thank you so much in the meantime, Maria, for asking those questions, and you guys are making this show alive. And yes, if I say something, then we are all believers, and we are working in this field for many years. And as I said, I'm working in this platform since 2017, and Nick also had a huge time in this platform. Am I right, Nick? If I'm not wrong,
That's absolutely correct.
Yeah, we do believe in science, but yeah, in the meantime, we also believe in these type of paranormal incidents, because, you know, the truth is they exist in every single religion, even not only religion, but also in every sector. Paranormal incidents and this type of entities and creatures, they're nicely described. So we do believe in these things, and, you know, we believe in demons and, you know, jinns, whatever you guys used to call, they really exist, and they're like us. They have religion. They are good, they are bad. Sometimes they just do, you know, bad stuff. Sometimes they used to help people, and sometimes, you know, they force people to do bad work, and sometimes, you know, they just make people afraid. They possess people. But yeah, the true thing is they really exist. They got a different realm. But sometimes the clash start, Nick. The clash start when they just collide in our realm, and, you know, that's the point. You know, when demons and whatever the spirits, whatever you just call, they collided with the human, with us, and that really make problem.
Yeah, and as I told you guys the last time that I was on this show, like I said, I've witnessed it for myself. You know, after when I told you about. You remember when last week I was talking about that possession that I witnessed, and in my opinion, that was probably the closest I think I've ever seen. Really, and I really do mean this. Probably the closest I've ever seen to seeing good versus evil that way. I mean, I definitely saw the powers of God. I definitely saw the powers of the devil that day, even though we weren't supposed to be doing this kind of stuff to begin with, but. It was definitely a very scary experience. It's definitely something that, you know, when you see something, put it this way, when you witness something like that, and you see something else like taking over somebody else's body, and that personality changes, that face changes, those eyes, you know, become this. Eyes become these deathly black color. I swear to you, it changes. It changes your life forever. You never forget.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I can feel that. I'm still having goosebumps. Whenever you just said, you know, the eyes got black and fully black, there is no eyeballs, even though there's the white part. You know, I can visualize it in front of my eyes, and that's really terrifying.
Well, and what's also scary too, because again, when you look at such things like this, especially involving when an exorcism is involved, exorcisms on several occasions can be very. It's not only just terrifying of that, but they're also very controversial for a number of reasons. Because first off, it has to be done, you know, when it's authorized by a church, and different religions and cultures have their own different types of exorcisms. But from what I've always been told, they have to always be authorized. It's got to be done by like a legitimate priest or a minister or a shaman. And that was not the case with us. And I think what scared me the most was that when people go through such things like this, especially exorcisms, in exorcism, it can be extremely painful for that possessed person, or even worse, it can be fatal. And that's what I was getting concerned about, because, like I said, since they're so controversial, you often hear every once in a while, like, an exorcism has been performed on somebody and that person died, and now those people are looking at murder charges out of it. That's what I kind of thought scared me the most, when this happened, more than the actual possession itself, because I came to that realization that if he didn't survive by the end of this, we all could have ended up going to prison for murder. So, how do you explain something like that, to the police, that this person died of possession? It's a very it's been like that for many decades, and it's still like that to this day, 100, 200 years later.
That's really terrifying, Yeah. So, would you like to ask any more question, Marlon? Then you can easily go for it. Or if you want, then I want to hear a story from Nick, and we are just eagerly waiting for that, to have a story from him. And Nick told me in the offer, like, he got a story. So I guess we're ready for it, to hear a story from Nick Molay, and people from different countries and around the globe. I guess those who are going to watch this live after the live end, people will love to hear the story from Nick. And after that, I will go for the story of Juju, as I told you, Nick, and in our panel, like in our chat room, that I will share a story about the most top charted urban legend in our country, and that is Juju. I told you guys that I'll share the story in the next live in this Sunday, and I'll share it after Nick's stories end. And I guess I've got one more stories, and Marlon, she also have a lot of stories as she told me in personally. So I would love to hear the stories from her mouth also. So right now I'm just directly moving to Nick, and Nick, just go for the story that is stored. Okay, we're just keeping silent. Can wait
here
for it.
So I got the story right. It's not a very long story, but it will last for a couple minutes, and I'm just going to tell you quickly. What's funny, because I was listening.
No, just take your time. I would love it. We would love it.
Well, what I was going to say, the story is perfect because I heard you guys talking about Bloody Mary earlier in the show.
Yeah.
Guess what? This is what the story is. Guess what?
Oh.
The story is is based on this legend. So you guys read my mind. So this story, it's called The Girl. This story, it's called The Girl in the Mirror. I was at my friend's house for a slumber party, and we were playing Truth or Dare. She and our friends were trying to get me to say dare, but I seriously didn't want to. Kathy and the other girls kept threatening me, though, so I caved. They dared me to stay into the bathroom mirror and say a dead girl's name 3 times and wait to see what happened. But I had to do it in pitch darkness. I went into the bathroom, closed the door behind me, said a dead girl's name in the mirror 3 times, and then waited to see what would happen. Suddenly, I felt something dig into my wrists and drag its way up my arms. I screamed in pain and scrambled to find the door. Kathy and the others had to help me out of the bathroom. I saw her. I felt her. She was there, I screamed. Who did you see? What did she look like? Was she scary looking? The girls asked me. But I didn't say anything. Kathy got the first aid kit to treat the scratches on my arm. When we saw them, we were both on the verge of either puking or passing out. What happened to you in there? Kathy asked me. I don't know. One moment I'm doing the dare, and then all of a sudden, something started digging into my wrists and work its way down my arms, I explained to her. Did you see anything unusual? Kathy asked me. Well, I saw someone with long black hair wearing a bloody dress, and she had no eyes, I explained to her. Ooh, that is creepy, very creepy indeed, Kathy said. Kathy, if it's not too much trouble, I would like to go home now, I said. But you just got here, she protested at first, but then she reconsidered. Oh, all right, fine. You can go home and cower in your bedroom, Kathy said, with a hint of nastiness in her voice. You know, Kathy, I'm tired of your attitude and of how mean you can be, I said. In fact, I've been tired of it since the first day I met you, so I hope you die and soon. I packed up my things, called my mom, who was off work that night, and I stormed out. I didn't know what I was going to tell my mother. I had no idea what I was going to do or how I would explain the scratches on my arms. As I sat waiting for my mom, I thought to myself, just keep your wounds hidden from her until the next day or so, and you'll be fine. As quickly as I could, I took my jacket out of my overnight bag and put it on. All of a sudden, I heard the honking of a car horn, and I noticed my mother's familiar green truck pulling into the driveway. Hi, Margot. You're coming home early. What's wrong? My mom asked. Didn't have fun at the slumber party? Well, sadly, no, I said, forcing a wry smile and climbing into the cab of the truck. I started to get homesick. After that, we headed home. I never did go to any more of Kathy's slumber parties. Several weeks later, the guests from the slumber party returned to school and told the rest of the story. After what had happened to me, the girls had been shaking in fear. So since Margot had to leave, Kathy asked the girls, who else is up for her dare? No one volunteered. Everyone was terrified. Since you babies are too chicken to do Margot's dare, I'll do it myself, Kathy said, walking into the bathroom. Kathy shut the door behind her, turned off the light, and turned herself to face the bathroom mirror. Then she quickly repeated a dead girl's name 3 times. Nothing happened. See, you idiots, Kathy called through the bathroom door. Nothing happened, all right? Nothing happened. Suddenly, the silhouette of a girl appeared in the mirror, its head cocked to the side quizzically. As the figure came closer, his face became clear, as did the malevolent smirk widening on its face. Kathy screamed and thrashed around in an attempt to locate the bathroom door, but couldn't find the doorknob. Outside the bathroom, the slumber party guests were listening, and the group collectively screamed when something large and heavy struck the inside of the bathroom door and then the floor. The thump in the bathroom woke Kathy's parents, who came running, finding the door locked. Kathy's father had pried the door open with a screwdriver. They found their daughter lying face down on the bathroom floor. When they turned her over with the intention of reviving her, they both screamed. Kathy's mouth was wide open, as if she was still screaming, and where her eyes had been, there were 2 empty sockets and nothing more.
Oh my god.
Oh, jeez.
Last thing was I can't even take it out of my mind. This was scary. Wow.
It was a hell of a good story, and the first thing, as you explained, the first incident with that girl, and that was terrifying. Even the last part was amazing. Definitely.
Yeah.
A plausible story, Nick. Yeah, that was awesome. And when it's all about this kind of urban legend, I just love to hear this type of stories. And I already gave an explanation, though it's in Bangla, in my YouTube channel, of what is Bloody Mary, what does it stand for, even the back history of Bloody Mary. I just gave a huge explanation behind of this Bloody Mary. I guess it's Mary Tudor, the Mary's persecution. I guess Nick, you know that story, but behind the story of the Bloody Mary, like when this things start from, like the whole Bloody Mary things, and it started from England, as I know. The Mary Tudor, she was a queen.
That's correct. Yes, there's many different stories of who Bloody Mary was in life, but that's probably the most notorious one.
Mm-hmm.
And some also believe there's also a secondary version of it where it was believed that she may have actually been a witch in life, and actually supposedly may have been one of the actual witches executed during the witch trials of 1692. So, but I know that story all too perfectly well.
Yeah, me too. I also know that story, and it's very terrifying. Some of them say that she was a witch and she was a childless queen, Queen of England, and she was, keep just killing the Protestant, using burn alive more than 100 people, and in that moment there was more than 30 plus women, pregnant women, as he burned them alive because they were Protestant, and the curse just came upon her, and that the thing just start from. So thank you so much, Nick, for your story, and that was a very good one. Go on.
There's also, I was going to say, there's also another version where supposedly, she actually had been, in life, not only that she was suspected of being a witch, but also was preying upon children, particularly young girls, because she believed that by killing these kids and using their blood, it would make her young. Because at first, when people saw her, she was a much older woman, in the 70s or 80s. But when they started seeing all these young girls disappearing, they started noticing a change in Mary's appearance. She looks a lot younger, more attractive. She had used that. It's obvious she used the blood to make her young again. So it was it's one of those stories where it's one of those classic stories where if you had put young child or virgin blood on your skin, it would give you eternal youth and you would never grow old. So it's a very famous, it's really probably one of the most famous witch stories that exists.
This is the story I know about Bloody Mary as well. She would be showering with young women's blood to make herself look better and beautiful and younger. So that's the story I know as well. So yeah, I guess it's creepy.
Yeah, definitely, it's a creepy one, And then Bloody Mary has several different versions and around the world. And as I shared in the Horror Fiction YouTube channel, and basically that's from United Kingdom, where she used to kill those Protestants, and after killing those innocent lives, she got cursed and just died without having any children. And the curse, just cursed upon him. And from that moment, she became Bloody Mary. Whenever, just some people just in front of a mirror in the midnight just called her name and just holding a candle, they just used to saw this kind of spirits and had a very bad experience there. So are you guys ready to have the story? Especially I'm just converting it for Nick and those fans from the United States and watching us from around the globe, that Juju special story. And before that, I would like to read some comments and keep applauding are coming from Ayat, and just people just can't wait to hear stories from you. I had already shared a story, and there's a hell of a good one. And usually whenever our story come from William Ayat's voice, and that really become popular, and that's what she does in this show, bring some bone chilling story, and we used to give those tag in our description, just wait for our bone chilling, heart shaking stories. And definitely those stories that came from William. I really appreciate your story. Thank you so much once again. William, personally, I'm telling you, the way you just, share stories with your voices and incidents, you were just a hell of a story box.
Thank you.
And Shubham just keep commenting. Just people just want to know, are you sick or something? Because they can hear your voice. Okay, she already shared a story. I guess you missed it, bro. She is not sick. She is here. You can hear it. You can hear her voice. And another fan, Baizid Shanto, big fan. Okay, so again, we got many applauses from different people. Okay, so Nick, should I go for that story? The most top charted urban legend. And definitely you're gonna love it, and people from around the globe will love it. So grab your seatbelts and turn off the light, because now what I'm sharing is one of the most horrific top charted urban legend in our country, Bangladesh. So right now I'm directly moving to the story. It's all started from India, Nick. It was 1970 plus. I can't recall the actual date right now, but it's all started from India. So in Kolkata, Kolkata is a state of India. Nick, are you getting me? Kolkata is a state
Yeah.
of India, like like Louisiana, Texas. It's a state of India, and in that state, there was a tea state. Tea state. There was a tea state. It used to call Turturia tea state. That thing all started from there. The Turturia tea state, 1970 something, 1970 something. Can't recall right now, but it will be around 1975 or 80. I guess so. One government employee and his whole family shifted to that tea state. Like, as he was a government employee, as I can remember, he was a forest officer. Just those fans who are watching from United States, United Kingdom, Scotland, Australia, or even New Zealand, just try to listen the story carefully. You guys will get it.
I'm listening carefully.
Oh, I know you will listen carefully. And even my fans and followers will listen very carefully. So they got transferred to that state in that several city. It's not actually city, it was a village. Turturia tea state. That was a tea state. They had a small little children around 4 or 5 years old. So they got a bungalow, they got an apartment from the government. It was totally free. And Nick, you already know, whenever you are doing the government job, or your government will provide you a free house, whatever you just call free house. I guess you know about it. So the government just offered him, and just brought them a brand new home. That was a bungalow, a duplex building. So in that building, there was only 4 people. The husband and the wife, their children, and there's only one caretaker. And that house was in the middle of nowhere, and middle of the tea state. Again, just note this point, that house was middle of a tea state, a hilly area, Turturia's tea state. Those guys who are watching from India, if you're watching from Kolkata, you guys can point out that place. So that house was middle of nowhere, middle of the tea state, hilly area. One day, the child's mom was feeding her child. She was feeding her child. Like she was saying, like this. Like, whenever our kids don't eat their meals, don't eat their breakfast, we parents, what do? We just make them afraid. Cat will come, dog will come, boogeyman will come. In America, just parents used to say, son, just please eat the bowl, eat it, or boogeyman will come. So our child get afraid,
Right.
and eat their meal. Am I right? Yeah, just note this point.
Definitely. You hear that a lot with a lot of traditions, saying, it's obviously like one of those classic traditions where it's trying to get, misbehaving children to behave better.
Mm-hmm.
They'll say things like saying, you need to do this, or don't go out after dark.
Yeah.
The boogeyman, or this
Boogeyman will come.
That kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah, chupacabra will come, boogeyman will come, the dog will come, cat will come. The parents just usually use on it to feed their children. And that is what his mother was doing. That little kid was, just denying to eat his food. And that is what his mother was doing. Baby, eat the breakfast, eat the meal, or Juju will come. Again, I'm repeating it again. Just try to figure out the point. Babe, just eat your meal, Juju will come. Then, her kid just ate the bowl fully nicely, and that kid got frightened and ate fully. Then his mother just, go to the kitchen, and then mother suddenly heard a voice out of nowhere. Juju will come. Out of nowhere, her kid was in the drawing room. Her little child was in drawing room. Then his mother, washing those dishes in the kitchen, left her kid alone. Then she just heard a voice, Juju will come. Okay, she just took it normally and said, okay, oh, so this is a voice out of nowhere, just, it's like, maybe I'm hallucinating or something like that. She just take it out of their mind, take it out of her mind. She just take it off nicely. Then again, she heard, Juju will come. Again, she heard the voice out of nowhere. It was from a male voice.
Oh my God.
Say.
Wow.
Like there was no one there for her to like.
Exactly, guys. Exactly, Marlene, William, and even Nick. As I mentioned, the house was out of nowhere, middle of the forest, and it was a hilly area, duplex home. There was literally no one except the caretaker, and her husband was in job. She heard again, Juju will come. Then she was literally become trembling. She was having goosebumps after when she heard this twice. Like after that, she was having goosebumps. What's going on? Maybe something is wrong. Something definitely is wrong right now. Like, why the hell I'm hearing this voice again and again with a male voice? Juju will come. Juju will come. I just mentioned the name unwillingly. That name, Juju, just came out of my mind. I just unwillingly said whatever. She just unintentionally said that name, Nick. Unintentionally. She had no intention to mention the name. She just unintentionally said, Juju will come. Just eat your meal, kid. Juju will come. After that, she heard, Juju is coming. Oh my God, I'm just having goosebumps. Wish I could show you guys.
Yes. Oh my.
Then she heard, Juju is coming. First she heard, Juju will come. Then she heard, Juju is coming. Then she's, oh my God.
It's there almost.
Man.
Then, she just felt something very unusual. She just felt something very bad is about to happen. Then she just threw her dishes in the middle of the work and just ran out of her kitchen. Then she heard again while she was running. As I mentioned, it was a very big house. As I mentioned. Like the kitchen was very far from the dining room. Juju came and Juju is eating. Then she just ran out of nowhere.
Jeez.
Juju is eating.
Oh man.
You heard that, Nick? First she heard Juju will come. Then she heard Juju is coming. Then she heard Juju is eating. Juju came. Wait a second. I had this back.
Wait.
Then
Juju is the child, right? Wait.
no, just let me finish. The twist is coming.
Okay.
Then just spirit whatever just voice out of nowhere. First he said Juju will come. Juju is coming. Juju came. Juju arrived. Then that voice said Juju is eating. Then her mother just felt bad. Then he knew something very bad is about to happen. She just ran out of nowhere from the kitchen. Then she just go to his child. Then Nick, you know what she saw in front of her own eyes? She just saw her children lying. Her children is lying on the floor. Blood is everywhere. Like it was flowing. And her children's body is half eaten. Her child was half eaten. Yeah. And the bungalows, the apartment's window. Yeah, the apartment window was closed. Opened. The apartment window was open like this, They're open like this. In front of her own eyes, he just saw her child was half eaten. Blood is flowing out of nowhere. Blood is everywhere. Blood sheds and blood is flowing out of the little child's body. And she saw something furry. She just saw something furry, huge, above 7 feet. Like red eyes, like his eyes were burning. Red eyes, furry body, huge nail. but the face was transparent, like fully black fur, fully black fur. The thing had no tails, but the body was huge, big furry body with a red blinking eyes. Like we saw the Predator movie, right? The Arnold Schwarzenegger's Predator movie. I guess Nick, you saw that. Like whenever this Predator first appeared in that movie, like whenever he just look on the military, the eyes was like this, blinking, red blinking, the Predator eyes. And the same thing happened in that case. Whenever the thing was like eating her children, like out of nowhere, she just look at her like this, and the thing's eyes just blinked. Her wife just screamed and got fainted in that case, and that thing just jumped from the window.
Ran away?
No, it's not like run away. Just jump from the window, and in that case, the wife got fainted. His wife, the government employee's wife. I mean, the child's mother got fainted in that case. Whenever she just saw her child is dead, blood is everywhere, like her own child is half eaten. Like there was no head, like the arm was half eaten, the belly was half eaten, the intestine was, coming out, the limbs were coming out from the body, and totally a massacre situation, Nick.
Wow.
And she got fainted, and the thing, whatever it was, just jump out of the wall. No, it actually not wall, just jump out from the window. He just gave up, it was like a matter of glimpse, like around 10 or 12 seconds. She just saw that entity or whatever, that monster, boogeyman, whatever you just call the devil, the demon. She just saw only for 10 or 11 seconds. Then that thing just jump out of the window. After that, it's not done yet, Nick. After that, this police case happened. The total place is, wrapped up with a caution mark. That is what cop does. Several cases occurred. Like what was that? It wasn't a murder case. It wasn't a murder case because the body was half eaten, Nick. Even there is no chance like the Gila leopard, jaguar, black panther will come to their house. And it's, as I said, it was a building. It was a bungalow duplex building, so there is no chance. And the fence, the wall, the house was nicely covered by fence wall, concrete wall. The house was nicely covered by the concrete wall, so there is no chance for those animals, Nick. Definitely there was no chance for animals. Even it was unusual for those animals to have a huge bite. Even if it's a lion or Royal Bengal tiger, the bite will be small, but the bite was huge, Nick.
Yeah, the bite would be smaller. I mean, if it was, the bites would have definitely been smaller. Even if it used its claws, it wouldn't still create that much damage. So that already explains that something bigger and badder that attacked these guys.
Yeah, definitely. And as I said, it was a 3-storied building. So there is no chance, there's hell of a no chance for those, animals to get through of those wall, and eat the children and the highly secreted, home. So it's totally unusual. So after that, Nick,
right.
After that case, that woman, the children's mother died after a couple of days later. He just died. And whenever, the forest officer, they got call or something like that, someone just informed his father, like, something very unusual happened. Your child is dead, half eaten. He just came out of his office and, saw the corpse, the dead body, After that, he also become, whatever it calls, he becomes so afraid and, like he was out of his mind. Then after a couple of weeks later, after a couple of days later, the children's mother died. The trauma, he was nicely traumatized after that situation, and he was, half unable to talk, half deaf, half unable to talk, and that was a huge impact. The impact was huge, as he just saw in front of his own eyes. So she just died, and after a couple of days later, her husband, I mean the children's dad, become mad. Like he become a psychopath. The total family got shattered.
Oh wow.
Whole family got shattered.
Jeez.
Then things not done yet, Nick. Here, couple of paranormal investigators from our country,
Sorry.
even from India. It's okay. So a couple of paranormal investigators and paranormal researchers from our country, even India, like visited that place. Even cops and even military. They searched the whole tea state. Even they found just nothing. Even no sign of big animals, even bears. And we usually know in India, in tea state, even in Bangladesh, we have only huge big cat in Sundarban, Royal Bengal tiger. Except that there is no big animals, carnivores. There is no big carnivores in our country except Sundarban. Even in India, like in that state, so there's no sign of big animals. So things not ended here. Few paranormal experts came and they just, the women died. So there's only one person, and that is a government employee who was already half mad, half psychopath. And he just told the paranormal investigator, can you just explain what your wife saw? Just explain a bit. He was psychopath. Then in that moment, he just said he was kind of deaf and unable to talk. But Nick, he draw something. What his wife saw in that day. He just draw something like a figure, an entity, and in that drawing, Nick, like as I explained, his wife saw like big furry animal, black, more than about 6 feet of red eyes. He just took 2 pen, one red pen, one black pen. That psychopath, his father just draw a character, and the paranormal investigator from both country, they just saw and just figured out there's a huge figure, red eye, furry animal, no tail, but there's a huge 2 little horn, but the animal was huge. Okay, everything was fine until Nick, a thing happened in our country, in Sylhet. Sylhet is a state. It's also a tea state, and like Arizona, Texas, it's also a state in Bangladesh. So in that is also a hilly area. Just note this point. That's also a hilly area. In that point, one of the family witnessed the same thing. Like they just working, and they just left their children. দোলনাকে কি বলে? Marlin বা ওয়ালিয়া মায়াত কি বলে? Maria, দোলনাকে কি বলে? What does it call? Swing. Okay. Yeah. So the parents were working in our country in Sylhet. Like the parents were tea stuff. They were tea pluckers or something like that. Like they usually pluck teas and sell it to the market. Like they're the workers, tea workers in the tea garden. So they just left their children in a swing. Like then whenever they just came, they saw the children was half eaten.
Oh my God.
And there was an entity like the same, more than 6 feet of red eyes, no tail, little horn above his head. And they also witnessed the same thing. And they just told it to the paranormal investigator. And now they're just investigating, they're just trying to figure it out. What was that? The thing happened in India. The also same thing happened in Bangladesh, and things not done here at all. After 2 years, my bad. After 10 years, in 2000's case, it's a 2000, the year was 2000, our paranormal investigator visited one place. Like one well-known family from our capital Dhaka informed, like you guys came to our house. Our children, my child has a imaginary playmate. He has an imaginary playmate. Nick, note this point too.
Yeah.
They just called the paranormal investigator and they said, just check over my child, have a look. My child just play with shadow figure or entity. We can see that he has an imaginary playmate he has. So can you guys just check this out? What's going on to my child? The paranormal investigator, the same paranormal investigator, those who investigated in the Sylhet, in the hilly area, also in the T state, they just came. They just told to the children, okay, can you just tell me how your imaginary playmate looks like? Can you just tell me how your imaginary playmate looks like? And can you just draw that figure? If you don't mind, I'll give you a chocolate. He was a little kid, like around 6 or 5 years, Nick. Then the most twisting part is the child draw a figure, the same figure drawn by that man from the Tuturia tea estate from India. Like, Nick, it was a carbon copy. You can imagine, like the 5 years old child draw a figure, and then he said, what's his name? What is the name of your imaginary playmate? That kid said, Juju. His name is Juju.
Oh my God.
Wow.
You can relate this case. Like, after 20 years, Nick, it was after 20 years, the 20 years before, that victim's dad draw the same thing, and after 22 years later, a child from our capital city Dhaka, capital city of Bangladesh, he just also draw the same thing, Nick. It was a carbon copy. Like those two pictures, they were like this paranormal investigator. Yeah, they're holding this two picture like this. They're holding.
Yeah, basically on that.
Yeah, they were holding like two picture like this. Like the first picture was drawn by the government employee, the psychopath, the victim's dad, and the second picture was drawn by after 22 years later in Bangladesh, in Dhaka, and that kid also mentioned the same name. His imaginary playmate is Juju.
That's crazy.
That's crazy.
I got goosebumps right now.
Yeah, and the paranormal investigator in our country, they just informed few things, Nick. Like, it's an entity or something, like demonic creature who actually eat childs around 5 or 6 years of age. And not only that, but also they used to live in tea estate, like hilly area, Nick. Not like in the savannah land, not like in the plain land, not in the swamp area, not in the desert. They usually used to live in hilly area where hills and forests combine in the same time. And they eat children.
So they basically so it's obvious this particular entity, for the most part, unlike some of these others, likes to keep close to nearby populated areas so it can prey upon children. That's exactly what it sounds like.
Exactly, Nick. And still, whenever I just share the story, I have goosebumps. And right now, I'm having goosebumps right now whenever I'm sharing the story. And there's a reason why, Nick, this is still this is unexplainable. And this mystery is still unsolved. Like, it's a children eater. It's a child eater demon. And some of them just explain it's a demon or maybe an alien out of nowhere. Maybe they don't belong to our realm. Maybe just people can see them. Just people can see them whenever, that cases happen. Like, whenever they eat child. Like, coincidentally, if you manage to see, or, you just came in the perfect time, then you can see Juju.
Right.
It's terrifying. The people just keep searching for it, but there is no clue. Even the mystery is still unsolved. There's a reason why it's top charted at #1 urban legend in our country.
The irony of it
That
is
is
actually,
just
for me,
incredible.
just imagine the mother has called Juju to eat the child without her knowing, and the devastating feeling the mother must have felt.
So,
It's just
just saw her child died in front of our eyes.
Yes.
So, Nick, I would like to ask you a few things. Like, as you are a paranormal researcher, investigator, and also expert in this field, as I can say, what do you think? Like the things start. Just Nick, just try to understand. The things start when in India, that mother just started calling that name. Start calling that name. Baby just aided, Juju will come. The thing started from here. So as you are expert, as you are investigator, researcher, so what do you think? What is your opinion? If you just kindly tell us.
Well, I honestly think it could actually be like, kind of like, it could, that could very likely be the case where sometimes that they bring it up, that could be the start of something involving, when you're warning someone about, especially warning kids of their misbehavior, because I could actually come up with a very good example like that myself, that is very almost similar to what you were describing. Now, obviously, as you guys know, I live in Chicago, Illinois. But there is a famous legend down in Louisiana. There's a famous legend down in the bayous of Louisiana. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of the Rougarou before. You guys ever heard of that before?
Say again. Say that name again.
It's called the Rougarou, or Loup-garou, as it's sometimes called too.
Loup-garou. No, never heard of it, man.
So the Rougarou, or Loup-garou, as it's sometimes called, it's basically the southern it's pretty much Louisiana's version of the werewolf, and or what's also known as the Cajun werewolf. And it's essentially like what you would expect it to be. It's said to have been a man or like a person who has been cursed with the Rougarou, and they are cursed to transform into this wolf-like creature for 101 days. So, just like the classic werewolf story, if they attack and they bite somebody, they also pass the curse onto them, and then they're infected with the curse for 101 days. So there was a story I do recall, actually I saw it from a paranormal show, where they interviewed a guy when he was a kid. He and his siblings were troublemakers. They liked playing pranks all the time. They scared their sister, and during one of those times that they were pulling one of their pranks, their grandmother came up to them angrily, says, "If you guys don't knock it off, the Rougarou is going to be coming after you. He'll be coming after you in your sleep." And a few days later, he actually went out. He ended up going hunting in the swamps, and all of a sudden, he starts hearing these branches like cracking and breaking apart and stuff, and he realized it was something very heavy that was walking through. It was definitely not any type of animal he was familiar with. And he looked over, and the next thing he saw this huge wolf-like creature, probably about 7.5, 8 feet tall. And it just glared at him with these real deep yellow eyes. And even though he was hunting, even though he had a shotgun, he was so frightened that his weapon basically was forgotten, and I'll tell you, he got scared and he ran off as fast as he could to get back to his car and get the hell out of there. So it was quite obvious that this is an example where, as a kid, he was warned. He obviously was still misbehaving, but by telling them that, I think it kind of activated something, if you will, for lack of a better term. And next thing you know, he had the Rougarou coming after him. So after that, I'm pretty sure he probably never misbehaved again after that. But I honestly think some of those stories could actually not only just be used as a warning, but also could be used as a way of saying, this thing can come after you. It's not just a scare tactic that you would use on misbehaved kids. There are some cases, most of the time it is, but there are a few of these stories out there where, sometimes there could be a shred of truth that if you keep going on with the behavior or the path you're going to, you're going to eventually pay the ultimate price when it comes to a particular paranormal entity or victim.
Yeah, absolutely, Nick. And, the thing is, in my opinion, as I know, and if you ask me, then I'll say, like, by calling that name, or maybe through that specific name. In my case, if I just talk about Juju case, then I would probably say, like, by mentioning that name, she just unleashed a demon. Maybe it can be,
or at least woke it,
but
or at least like wake it up. Kind of waking it up.
Yeah, yeah.
Because
Exactly.
it's like, it could be another idea I could think of when it comes to those type of entities is that things like that could stay dormant for years. Nothing happens, and then all of a sudden, someone brings it up, and when they continue,
Yeah, exactly.
That's when. And I could even I got even another example, because not only this can not only be given through warnings. Obviously, I'm sure you guys are very familiar with Slender Man, right? I mean, that's a worldwide entity. You guys, so Slender Man, obviously, for the most part, as we all believed originally, was nothing more than just a pure online legend. But then, next thing you know, people actually started reporting this entity. And although most of the photographs and videos that are presented are usually mostly fakes or hoaxes, there are people who have legitimately reported seeing a very tall figure. And there is this actual belief, as a matter of fact, that if a lot of people put a lot of thoughts into a particular entity, something that may be completely made up, they give a lot of thought, they give a lot of obsession, they talk about it a lot, it could actually create some kind of energy as a result. And what originally began as nothing more than an online legend, suddenly this negative energy could actually bring it into existence. So now it's not only just a legend, but now you're truly dealing with something out of a nightmare.
Absolutely. And there is a thing that I'm actually agreeing with you. Like, by calling that and mentioning those several names, you were just unleashing a demon. Something is just hibernating. And by calling that name and putting some curse, you were just bringing it. And not only that, but also you were just unleashing a demon out of nowhere. Like, maybe he or she was sleeping and that demon was trapped or something. Like, through that word, through that curseful word, you were just unleashing a demon. There's also a logical explanation from my side, as also Nick said, and also Nick mentioned, through this, you were just unleashing something like that is very bad and it could be harmful for anyone. And that is the case. After that incident, like several cases happened in this both country, like in Bangladesh, in Juju, there's two different cases. One in Dhaka, two in Sylhet, 3 cases, and the first one held in India, the Thutria tea state, Kolkata. So yeah, that was a logical explanation. So I guess our show is about to get end. So Nick, what you gonna say before ending up?
Not really much. I guess what I can say though, since now we are just so glad to have you guys as part of the Things Network family, is for a lot of people who are tuning in. Obviously not.
Yeah.
If you guys want to check out more of the shows we have here on this network, definitely be sure to check out. We got several other paranormal podcasts and shows, as well as even a few shows that involve readings and that kind of nature. We have all throughout different parts of North America and Europe. So yeah, we got a lot of shows. As a matter of fact, in addition to this show, we got 2 other new shows that are just starting this week. So you guys are one of 3 new shows that just got it added to the network. So you guys are the first in line for this week. So, but yeah, if you guys want to check out some of the other shows we got here on this network, feel free. We're always on here. We're on 7 days a week, and yeah, come check out the other shows, and you guys, I'm sure you guys will have a great time with us.
And it's not done yet. We are just starting things up, and still we have a huge plan for future Things Network and horror fiction. We have a huge plan. We're just starting things up. It's not done yet. And couple of more interesting shows are coming in our network, in our Things Network, and even horror fiction. And weekly, we will arrange a show through collaboration through Things Network and horror fiction. We will launch a show in every Sunday, and things just are starting up. This is not the end. So more exciting episodes, exciting shows are still yet to come. So all you have to do, follow Things Network, follow Horror Fiction Facebook page for more interesting stories. And in our Facebook page, Horror Fiction stands for the real life horror stories based on true stories. You guys just keep sending me mails and even share your stories via voicemail or via, Gmail by writing your stories. And if you guys want to join us, live podcast, then you guys are always welcome. If you guys are camera shy, then you guys can turn off your camera, then you guys can go for your own voice. And not only that, if you guys want that I read the story and share it like my own, then yes, that is obviously fine. We have a couple of storytellers like William. She's a very fine storyteller, and Zenan is with us. She's also a very fine storyteller as well. And also we have, storyteller is a female voice, Zenan, William, Ayat, and also the male voice comes from my side, from me. So if you guys want, then you guys can share your stories via mail, via voicemail, or if you guys want, then you guys can come to our show in our live podcast. And the season 1 is running in Horror Fiction Facebook page. Like 20th episode is running on the Curse of Giza, the last episode, like the 20th episode, and there is yet more to come still. This year is not done yet. September is running. September, October, November, December. 3 more months. That means there is a lot more stories to come. So Nick, one thing I was planning, we also have a huge fan base in the Western subcontinent. So usually I share my stories in like an episode in my language, in our language, that is Bangla. So I'm just planning, how about we just go for some episode with English? How about that?
Yeah, well, I can't see why not. That would be great. And
yeah,
I actually wanted to. It's interesting you brought that up because, believe it or not, I'm actually putting something together. Well, believe it or not, I'm actually putting something together of my own, which also will be broadcasting here on Things Network, as well as a few other paranormal networks I'm a part of. I'm currently in the process of putting it together, but starting sometime in either mid to late September. It's not necessarily a podcast, but I'm actually going to be broadcasting audio books of scary stories. So, if you're looking for more stories like to have included, I can help you out with that. So, and it doesn't.
Obviously.
In these audio books that I'm presenting, these aren't necessarily me actually narrating them. I mean, like recording live. They would be pre-broadcasted, and they would be pre-recorded and then broadcasted. So you guys are going to be seeing a lot more stories, and I'm actually going to be giving some announcements on the Things Network Show House chat, hopefully either later today, not today, then hopefully tomorrow. So there's going to be more stories are coming up, that's for sure. And trust me, I got plenty of them.
Oh, that sounds good. And as you said, you're going to help me to get some stories, and that's a hell of a good news, and I'm eagerly waiting for that. So, and then, and you just thought, you just sometime, there's a plenty of stories and episode in my page, in our page, Horror Fiction Facebook page. And usually those are in our language. So it's kind of, not understandable for you guys, those who are following our page from United States or even Western subcontinent, is kind of not understandable. So I'm just thinking to make some episode in English, and that will be definitely come from William, Ayat, and Maria's voice, and obviously mine also, and we three will work on it. Our voice will come, especially Ayat, Maria, and me. We three will work on it. We will give our voice and record it with an English version of it. We'll make an English version, then we will submit it as an episode. So that is what I'm just planning right now, to make some English episode in Horror Fiction Facebook page. So if you guys are interested in, urban legend like Bloody Mary, Blue Baby, Robert the Doll, or even many more, then just don't forget to subscribe Horror Fiction YouTube channel. The link will be pinned down below in the comment section. My moderator will do that probably. So check out our YouTube channel and don't forget to follow our page. And so before just signing out, so I would like to ask William, Ayat, will you want to say something, Ayat, before ending up the show, before we end up? Okay, so maybe she is not here. So directly I'm just moving on to Maria. So Maria, it was your first live podcast, and I guess this is your first English live podcast, and definitely it's you were first in this type of platform in the paranormal universe. And welcome to our world. And when Nick, I belong to the paranormal society.
Yeah, you
welcome.
guys are ghosts.
Yeah, we are
guys
ghosts.
You were just haunting us without, pretending or without any facial mask, like human like ghosts. And probably you guys can just, sometimes you can, like you can unleash the demon on.
Oh no! Don't say
you
that.
Talking about it like this, like you do it, and whatever you guys just unleash us. I'm worried.
Nick, we got the blame here.
Don't be imposters.
All I gotta say is just this, because I'm Roman Catholic. The only thing I gotta say now is.
That was funny, Nick. That was funny. Okay, thank you so much, guys. Okay, go on, Maria.
As you have given me the floor, I have to say a few words. First of all, it was really unexpected from my side. Paranormal world is not my world. I don't belong here. But now that you guys are talking about stuff like that, I kind of want to feel like moving there. So, you guys are secretly influencing people to move to your world. Yeah, I get it. Yeah, so thank you so much for having me, and it was a very nice, to be honest, it was a very, very good experience, like listening from a real life, I never thought I'd be watching Discovery or National Geography when I was in baby, and I'm like, people's faces, right? I've never made much of people like that, and especially American people or the English people. Your activities on paranormal stuffs, they are inspiring and really, really interesting. So having someone or talking to someone like from that background is an honor for me. And thank you so much for having me. It was a very nice show, and I'm looking forward to be with you all.
Thank you so much.
Or maybe become a paranormal activist as well.
So thank you so much. Thank you so much, Maria. We really appreciate that. We really appreciate your hard work, and I really appreciate that. And thank you so much for being with us all this time as a co-host of mine today. So directly, I'm just moving on to Ayat once again. So Ayat, you just missed it. I called your name, and would you love to put some words before we end up the show?
What can I say? I'm having so many, just look at my friends just messaging me in inbox, like, why are you silent today? Why are you? Okay, so I'm a little bit sick, but I'll be back again in the next week with
obviously
more energy and
obviously we're expecting more spectacular and haunted story from you. And we are your stories are, we have to admit, Nick, her story is quite frightening, and the way she just explained, and that I don't know what the hell she got the stories, and even those are true stories based on the true incidents, and that's terrifying.
It really is, without a shadow of a doubt. It's always the true stories that are the most frightening. That's for sure.
Yes, exactly. So, okay. So that's all for tonight. That's all for today's podcast. And all this time with me, it was Nick Molay, paranormal researcher and paranormal investigator from United States, Chicago, Illinois, and my very good friend. And you know, he's handling the Things Network from Chicago, Illinois. Thank you so much, Nick, for being with us all this time. I know you are a very busy man. You are doing job and all, but it's a quite unusual time in United States. But still, you're here with us, and I really appreciate that. Thank you so much, man. And
it's absolutely my pleasure. I mean, as long you guys ever want me to come back on to do another story or something like that, just feel free to let me know. And
obviously,
the same thing like today. Like if I have to if I have to do the same thing where I may have to come in later, that's fine with me, because at least then I can still be on the show either way whatsoever. So thank you guys once again so much for having me.
Exactly. Thank you so much, Nick. Once again, thank you so much, William Ayat, our storyteller, co-host, and also today our special co-host Maria, and just helped me out to engage the show, and we successfully did one more show, collaborated with Things Network. And thank you so much everyone. আর আমি একটু বাংলায় ব্যাক করছি, যে যারা হচ্ছে এতক্ষণ আমাদের সাথে ছিলেন, স্পেশালি লাইক অনেকের বুঝতে একটু অসুবিধা হয়েছে, because we talked in English. It was kind of hard for people to understand. Like people just সবাই আসলে ইংলিশটাকে নরমালি নেয় না। দেখা যায় যে স্টোরি শোনার জন্য আমাদের মাতৃভাষার কোনো জুড়ি নাই। এটা কিন্তু বলতেই হবে যে আসলে আমরা রাতের অন্ধকারে, রাতের আধারে যখন আমরা স্টোরিগুলো শুনি, স্টোরিগুলো আসলে এটা অন্য রকমের ভাইব তৈরি করে। I'm extremely sorry for that, but yeah, I have to do that because আমরা কিন্তু এখন শুধু যে আমাদের ন্যাশনাল, মানে আমাদের নিজেদের দেশের ভিতর ন্যাশনাল যেটাকে বলি, যে ন্যাশনাল ক্যাটাগরিতে কিন্তু আমরা নাই, এখন কিন্তু আমরা যুক্ত হয়েছি ফার্স্ট টাইম সাউথ এশিয়ার সাইড থেকে, সাউথ এশিয়া থেকে ফার্স্ট টাইম আমরা কিন্তু যুক্ত হয়েছি থিংস নেটওয়ার্কের সাথে। এটা ইউএস এর একটা নেটওয়ার্ক, যেখানে হচ্ছে প্যারানর্মাল ইনভেস্টিগেটর, প্যারানর্মাল রিসার্চারদের একটা মিলন মেলা, যেখানে কিন্তু শুধু যে ইউনাইটেড স্টেটস অফ আমেরিকা শুধু আছে সেটা কিন্তু না, কানাডা আছে, কিছু স্ক্যান্ডিনেভিয়ান কান্ট্রি আছে, স্কটল্যান্ড আছে, ইউনাইটেড কিংডম কিন্তু আছে, ইংল্যান্ড আছে, অস্ট্রেলিয়া, নিউজিল্যান্ড। আমাদের নেটওয়ার্কটা কিন্তু এখন হিউজ। এখন তাদের বললে ভুল হবে, এখন কিন্তু এটা কিন্তু আমাদেরও নেটওয়ার্ক। আজ কিন্তু লাইভটি সম্প্রচার হয়েছে শুধু যে হরর ফিকশন থেকে, শুধু তাই নয়, হয়েছে কিন্তু থিংস নেটওয়ার্ক থেকেও। So thank you so much for being with us, every single one যারা সাপোর্ট করেছেন। ওয়ালিয়াম, মোর্শেদ, আয়াতকে, ইভেন মারিয়ার কিন্তু যথেষ্ট, মারিয়ারও কিন্তু তার ভয়েসের, ইভেন তার প্রেজেন্টেশনের কিন্তু অনেক অ্যাপ্লজ পেয়েছি। থ্যাংক ইউ সো মাচ। And before signing out, once again, I'm saying your fear is your weapon. Signing out.
Take care, everyone.
ভয় আরো একটি রাত, ওয়াকার। ভয় আরো একটি রাত।